I'm 6 years old. My bedroom is on the top floor of our house. 3 windows face out onto a suburban Wisconsin street. There's a mirror hanging on the wall right across from the windows. It's bedtime. And I am floating, my nightgown billowing up around me like a bustle, my pigtails unfurling like wings. But I'm not dreaming. I'm jumping on my bed. And if I can get high enough, I can see my whole self in the mirror, suspended in midair, reflected on the backdrop of the night sky. And I am convinced that if I do this every night, as long as I keep logging these weightless seconds, I will be space princess longer than anyone else on the planet. So I grew up thinking I was going to go up into space. I wanted to be an astronaut. In college, I majored in astrophysics and then general physics and got a creative writing minor. Some people think that that is a bit of a contradiction. I never really did, but one day in Quantum Physics 101, I realized the problem of that thinking. We were learning about something called particle in a box. It's one of the first models taught in quantum physics classes because it allows some insight into quantum effects without a lot of complicated math. Suddenly, I had an unepiphany. It happens to me a lot, unepiphany. It's sort of like a lackluster eureka, and it happens when I realize the implications of something that is totally obvious. Okay? In this case, I realized there were no particles in any boxes. Duh. Okay? Thing is, what I hadn't realized, I knew it was a hypothetical example illustrating some of the differences between classical and quantum systems. But what I hadn't realized was that it was a creative writing example. This was a translation, an explanation of a phenomenon. It was a story told partly in numbers. So see, I was internally consistent this whole time, but now I just reconciled math, physics, art, science, language, bonus. So my internally consistent self graduated from college, and I made some decisions actually not to go into the military after that and potentially not go into space. For the next couple of years, I wandered around wondering what on earth I was going to do on Earth, and finally ended up in a PhD program at a humanoid robotics group at MIT's Artificial Intelligence Lab. There, I learned that studying humanoid robots was really more about figuring out how humans were smart than it was about learning how to build smart machines. I also learned how to machine metal with very fast, very sharp, very loud tools. This was a rebirth of wonder for me. When I realized that I could transform something as hard as metal, I realized that I could change anything. I could make anything. And not even that, I could collaborate and even compete with the guys who had been spending their formative childhood years building half pipes and breaking their arms while I was trying to feather Barbie's hair and jump my way into intergalactic princessdom. I left MIT in the 24th grade. It's a long time. I left there with multiple advanced degrees in engineering and an order of magnitude more hand tools than I had shoes and earrings, both of which come in pairs. It's from this vantage that I decided to start a company. It's called Rock, Paper, Robot. As was mentioned, we build kinetic and robotic furniture. Things like levitating tables, transforming tables, robotic chandeliers, shelves that move across the wall. You can imagine what you might find on Charles Eames and Judy Jetson's wedding registry. The company and our products are all based on the notion that every bit of wonder is bound to an executable reality. I'm going to repeat this. Every bit of wonder is bound to an executable reality. Everything I design and everything I build is based on a physics principle. And its goal is not only to be functional, but to deliver wonder and to give someone the experience of awe. Here are some examples. This is our signature piece. It's called Float Table. It's a levitating table. My dad's hand. So float is actually a matrix of magnetized wooden cubes that are all levitating with respect to one another. Okay, wood can't be magnetized. There are actually magnets embedded in every adjacent face of all of the cubes, and they're repelling each other. If you look very closely, you can see that all of the cubes are held in equilibrium by tensile steel cables. It keeps them from coming apart. People ask us all the time, if I cut one, will it blow? Will the whole thing explode? It's actually totally not very exciting. It will just kind of glom on to the magnet next to it, so it just kind of flops over. But it's okay, just don't tell anyone. You're free to tell people, yes, it explodes. So the whole thing is basically like a big wooden Jell-O cube that I wouldn't necessarily put your laptop on. When my friend of mine first saw a prototype, he said to me, "You should have used magnets." I can only assume that he thought I used magic. But that is exactly what I was going for. I do wish I hadn't paid all that money for that wizard on Craigslist, but the magnets work great now. This is another piece. It's called Bragg. It's a big concrete diamond balancing on its point. But it's not concrete, and it's not balancing. This is made out of 41 pieces of corian, which is a kind of plastic that are all essentially glued up together and then suspended from an internal structure. The company who gave us this material actually said this couldn't be done. Surprise! Gleam is another example. This is a robotic chandelier. Actually, this is a pretty crappy video because it's an animated GIF. The thing is continuous, so it comes in slowly and can open up. So Gleam is a chandelier that can respond to things in the environment. This can respond to, for instance, sound. So if you're having a big party, it can be big, and then if you come, sit down for dinner, the whole thing comes and it focuses the light. So these are all kinds of, there's nothing that we can't make, essentially. Nothing that can't be connected to your life. So, I build furniture. But really, I fabricate awe. And this means that my very business model is tied to my life model, which is tied to a world model, one which I think we've all been discussing. That every bit of wonder is bound to an executable reality. If you own this, you can go anywhere. Of course, you don't need to take it from me. I'm only the world's longest living space princess. Thank you.